You're listening to Spark TV, where we bring you daily interviews with real women in business at all stages. I'm your host, Danielle Lewis, and I am so grateful to have you here. So good, Meg. Welcome to Spark TV.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you on the podcast because we're humans that actually see each other in real life.
I know, it's strange that we're catching up like this.
I know, which is cool because, obviously everything we do at Spark is virtual because we've got members everywhere. So I kind of like just prioritize virtual, and then I've got like this beautiful little, women in business community going on here where I get to see people in real life, and it's so good. But then I forget to have you guys like on the virtual stuff as well. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be part of this podcast.
Love it. Well, let's start out by telling everybody who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Meg Kent. I am the owner and founder of Golden Youth Leadership, which is a youth camp business that I started about 3 years ago now. So I'm coming into my third year. And also have the director with my husband of our auto electrical company called Tech Auto. So yeah, we've got the two businesses, and I just work different roles in Golden U. I do everything because I work by myself. And then with Tech Auto Electrical, obviously my husband's the trade person, so he goes out and does all the tricky stuff, and I do all of our administration and all the office bits and pieces with his help, because he'll order all of the auto electrical parts and quote on things that I don't know how to. But yeah, so I have the two different jobs that I do at the moment.
I love it. And you also have a family as well. How the hell do you do everything?
I'm lucky my kids are really awesome. So that makes it a lot easier. But my children are all quite big. So our eldest is 22 and our youngest are twins who are 14. So it's a
Wow.
lot easier as they get older. They sort of are a little bit more independent. They don't need me as much, sadly. But they help each other as well. So we obviously live outside of Kalgoorlie. So I'm 38 kilometres out. So the travelling back and forth for kids stuff can sometimes be challenging, but my eldest daughter's got a license. So we all just work together as a team to make sure that we're able to get through everything that needs to happen in the day. So it can be busy, but I don't know how to do it any other way.
I know. I think sometimes business owners are kind of wired like that. It's like we just take on more and more and more. And it's almost like the more we take on, the more we seem to be able to accomplish. But like if we have nothing to do, we'll not do the one thing on our to-do list.
That is definitely my personality. I have to have a list, I have to know what's happening, and it has to be busy and full because, well, as you know, as a business owner, you are anyway, but when things slow down, you start to think, what am I doing? Like, what have I forgotten? What am I missing?
I know. And I also sometimes like if it's getting a bit quiet and slow, I don't want to do anything. Like it's almost like I have to be
Yeah.
stressed out to achieve anything.
I think that procrastination is a very big thing. Yeah. And sometimes it's the easiest things too. And they're just like the
Oh, yeah.
most challenging. You think, I don't want to do that because it's going to be so hard, or it's going to take up so much of my time. And then you do it and you're like, oh, that was actually really easy.
That took me 3 minutes. Yeah.
Probably should have done that like a week ago. But yeah, I feel the same. And especially, I guess, when the to-do list isn't so big, but also when everything just seems like those small little tasks, and you could just bowl them over if you got in there and got it done.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know. I just like rewrote my to-do list for the day. And I was like, wow, there's a few of these things that have been on here for like weeks. And I know it's like an email. Like it's like a one thing.
Yeah.
I have to fire a customer, and I've had that on my list for a while. And I'm like, I even have formulated the email in my head. And I'm like, I don't know, I just keep putting it off. It is one of those jobs. It's literally going to take me 3 minutes and I keep putting it off.
I feel like that would probably be a little bit daunting though. So
Yeah, I think I'd be good though. Like, sometimes customers are crap.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So, and I know that they're not a good egg. And I was like, it's just not worth my sanity.
Yeah.
I have just over the last decade in business, I've had really amazing customers, really like crap customers. And now I'm at the stage where I'm like, I will work my butt off for anybody. So I only want to work with people who actually appreciate that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really important. It's
Mm.
good for you, good for your business as well. But
And my sanity.
exactly. And how good does it feel to cross stuff off your to-do list? So
I'm
once
gonna
you've
have to
done that,
you're gonna have to be my accountability buddy. So I'm gonna email you later today when I've done that job.
feel like I've done it. I finally did it. It took me weeks, but I did it. And then you can like rewrite your list, how you've done this morning, and then cross stuff off. And by the end of the day, you're like, there's a celebration in this because
Totally.
you've just completed your to-do list.
Oh my God. The things we do as like solo business owners to
To
like
keep
give
yourself
ourselves the
motivated.
endorphins. Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. I love it. So tell me, what came first, Golden You or working with your partner in the auto business?
Yeah, so Tech Auto Electrical started first. As we've been in business for about 8 years now.
Cool.
So that started as my husband working for himself, still going out. We work in the mining industry, so still going out on site and doing labour hire and stuff. And since then, he's grown that part of the business by creating different auto electrical parts and so now we supply parts and we have an employee that we just put on last year. So like it's slowly starting to grow into a space where we're wanting to move, but it's always very scary because like taking the next leap is you need a premises, you have bigger overheads, like there's all those things that will come with it. So my husband Tim has been doing this business pretty independently, I must say, because I've always had another job before Golden U. So I would help where I could, but I also had full-time work. And then once I resigned from my position that I had, I started to step into the tech space to be able to help him because he was getting busier and busier. So now I do most of our administration stuff, like our reconciling, the payroll, invoicing, paying the bills, socials, when we get around to the socials and stuff like that, just to try and lighten the load. So it's been a lot of learning. There's a lot of things in there that aren't in my strong suit. So yeah, it's been a couple of years of having to really learn how to do these things the way that, well, firstly, how they're meant to be done,
Yeah.
also how it best works for Tim, so that I'm supporting him in his role as much as possible. So yeah, it can be a little bit challenging because it's a field that I don't know a lot about either. So like ordering parts and stuff like that, that still has to go back to him because I don't know
Who
what you're talking
knows?
about. I
Yeah.
don't know what you need. But yeah, so that was the first business that we had together, coming, yeah, up 8 years this year. And
Wow.
then 3 years ago, after I had resigned from my position, Tim was talking about like we were looking at just how we were going to grow tech because at the time that was the two of us working in the same business. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's the pathway that I want to go down. Like I feel like I've worked in community, I work with teenagers, I'd worked with, I love being a community member and volunteering and those kinds of things. And he had asked me then what it was that I felt that I wanted to do. And being a mum of teenagers, I was like, I really think that I want to do youth camps in the goldfields. I could see a
Wow.
gap in our market where our teenagers were kind of missing. I don't know that they're missing out. There are so many amazing services, but there was just a gap for those fine soft skills, like learning about goal setting and leadership and teamwork and opportunities outside of the goldfields. Understanding that they're not restricted by where they live. They've actually got so much opportunity being out here. But what I was seeing, even for myself as a teenager growing up in this region, they get to like year 10, I suppose, and that's that sort of time when you're like, okay, I'm either going to go this way or this way. Like I'm going to get a job or I'm going to go to further my studies. And the kids were seeming to think that was quite a pattern where it was like you either have to go to university or you have to wear high vis because we work in a mining town. And
Mm.
it's really daunting when you're 16 thinking that like you have very limited options when really there's so many. So I decided then that I would start a youth leadership camp program with lots of little other elements that I want to bring in, but we're still building. So yeah, and then we've started Golden You, which has been amazing.
Wow. It's so cool. And I love the, you actually took a minute to reflect on what you love, what you're passionate about, and how amazing that your husband was like on board with, what's your dream as well as my dream.
Yeah.
Because actually like starting a business from a place of what do I actually enjoy?
Mm,
Sometimes I think we fall into our businesses a little bit and we're like, oh,
yeah.
now I do this.
Yeah, I think so too. And I feel very, very lucky that I have got such a supportive husband because it means that I am able to try
Mm,
something new. Like obviously at the very start, starting a business, Golden, you had no funds, like we had no
yeah.
money. There was no spare money to get started, you know. So not only was it an investment that we had to put into just to get started, which was very minimal,
Yeah.
but an investment of time, which would obviously take me away from my family and from tech auto. So there's a lot that went into it, and I'm lucky that I've been able to do this because I know that so many people out there can get into the situation, and everybody does. Like if you have to work, it's like, okay, what am I good at? I'll find a job where I can do what
Yeah.
I need to do for my family. So I'm very thankful that I have had that opportunity to do something I'm really passionate about. It's been great.
It is so cool because you are right. I think sometimes, I mean, it's very easy for us to say time is like the big thing. And yes, you need that. But realistically, businesses do cost money to run.
Mhm.
Like, I even just think about like sometimes when my husband and I talk about it, he's like, how do you spend that much money? And I'm like, look, I go through the line and I was like, I don't know what I can cut here. Like when you think about the software tools that you
Yeah,
need, like the external support, like all of the things, it's like it adds up so quickly. Like it is actually, even if you are running your business so lean, it can
yeah.
really, really add up. So actually starting a business, I think people don't realize that, being able to make an investment in it and kind of realizing that you might not make a lot of money out of it for a while is kind of the harsh reality.
Yeah, it's definitely been a couple of conversations about, so are you going
Okay,
to
what are
keep
we
doing
doing?
this? Like,
Yeah.
because
Yes. Yes, I will be.
I'm like, I'm just nearly there. Yeah, because it's definitely something that I didn't really think too much about. It was very like, I'm very much a person who's like, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to jump in and do it. And then
Yeah.
everyone, like my husband and everyone else, is like, how are you going to do it? And I'm like, I don't know yet, but I'm doing
We'll
it.
figure it out.
Yeah, we'll work it out as we go. So there's been a lot of challenges by having that sort of mindset, but it's been good at the same time because you have no choice. You've committed and you have to work it out. So yeah.
Totally. And I think you have to have that, like, I don't know if skill's the right thing, like character trait of who cares, like, I'm going to make it happen. I will figure it out along the way. Because I think also lots of people don't start because they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the steps are. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I've had 4 businesses in 12 years. I was calculating the other day. I'm like, I have still no idea what I'm doing. I'm
I
still just
know.
putting one foot in front of the other. And it's also like, you can't even know because everything changes every year.
I think so too. And there's just so much learning. Like
Mm.
if I had known how much I was going to have to learn and how much I had to commit, like time wise and so forth, at the start. First of all, I probably wouldn't have listened, but I'd
Yes, yes,
be
same.
like,
I'd
yeah,
be like,
no, it's all
it'll be
good.
all right.
I got this. No, but if I had known how much work and time and things that didn't know that I would have to learn, I definitely would have taken a minute to probably think about it. And I probably would have been one of those people that would have been too scared to start because with Golden You, like growing the business from absolutely zero. Like we don't have another organization here in the Goldfields that does the same thing that I do. I'm obviously a small business, so not a not-for-profit. And I reached out to a few camps to sort of just see if I could find out some information, you know, like a bit of guidance, a bit of like someone I could speak to, because there's nobody doing what I'm doing. And I didn't really have a very good, like nobody was very forthcoming with their information or anything like that either. So I had to really, like everything that we do now has been trial and error. I've had to really spend time learning how to do everything from formulating a spreadsheet correctly to to like what type of insurance we're needing, and making sure, you know, that the camp's running efficiently, guest speakers, the itinerary, mentors, just trying to get kids to come to camp, you know, like that relationship building, promoting socials, like everything. I hadn't had to do really anything like that. I'm really good with people. I have a lot of contacts through what I was doing like previously. So I had that behind me as well, and very passionate, and the sort of the personality where like, oh, we're going to make it happen. But without those, yeah, I didn't have much else.
Wow.
So the last 3 years has been a lot of learning, and it's been a journey, and I've absolutely loved it. And I'm always learning every day. Like there's just new stuff every day. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's so true. And I think like that also doesn't end, right? You know, it's such an important character trait to have, that like love of learning and love of solving problems, because I think that's really all that business is. Be
I think
passionate about something, learn every day, and learn to love solving problems.
I think so too, because that seems to be the consistent pattern.
Yeah. Oh my God. What do you think your biggest challenge has been starting a business?
Um, I think so. There was a couple of things. So with tech, there was a lot of things that I needed to learn in the just like in the system that we use, so that, and making sure that I was doing that. And because we invoice monthly and stuff, having to, like, I'm very much a visual, hands-on, have to do it again and again and again. So it took me a while to like make sure I was getting everything correctly. So I did make a few mistakes at the start,
We all have.
which is
Still
how
doing
you
it.
learn.
Yes.
So for tech, it was definitely that sort of stuff, because that's out of my comfort zone. With Golden You, the challenges have been continuous, the constant learning, like I'm saying. But I think one of the big challenges is that like we don't have an office space as such. I haven't got a dedicated, even in my home, like we've got a big family, so there isn't an office. So I work literally from the kitchen table, as you can see, or the kitchen bench, which can be really difficult, because I find it really difficult to separate my home and my work. So I feel like I need a space. Like when you have a dedicated workspace, you walk in and you're definitely, your mindset changes, like I'm here to work. Whereas I feel like without that, I sort of struggle to stay in that mindset, I suppose. And because it's only me, like there's nobody else to motivate me, I have to keep doing that myself. So that's been definitely a challenge. And also for not like currently at the moment with tech, we don't have a workshop, so we're working towards that. But I know that Tim struggles with the same thing, because often he'll be working in our yard, or he'll be working, you know, on site or whatever, but to try and separate, you know, walking away from the workshop and closing the office and coming home is completely different when it's your administration stuff is all done at home. So it's nothing for us to be at 9 o'clock at night and Tim's like, oh, I'll just quickly, and I'm like, no, put it away. So I think that's the challenge in small business, is that you are the only ones doing it. So it has to be done.
It's so true. And it's like, I don't know if you feel this, but I feel guilty Like if I'm not doing something or achieving something. We were having this conversation before we hit record about, well, I'm currently in the process of missing my January goal of my first book. I'm supposed to read a book a month, and I picked the longest, hardest book to read, and I've not done it. But that whole idea of like, if you're not doing, if you're not achieving, if you're not ticking off the to-do list, if there's something that's left undone, I just feel guilty all the time if I'm like relaxed and or having fun and I'm at home, because I feel like it is my office. I
Yeah.
should just be doing something. Do you have any tips for that separation? Has anything worked for you guys?
Um, Not yet.
Don't worry. That's why
No.
I'm asking, because I haven't figured it out.
I think for me, I have to, when I'm in the mindset, so we have a big whiteboard, which is just in our main area, and we just load it up with things to do. I get a real kick off ticking off the to-do list. So when I'm like, right, I'm going to start, and I always try to start with the hardest thing and work my way down,
Yeah.
because once I've done the hard thing, I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then I get into that mindset.
Momentum.
But in regards to the office, I don't have any advice because I just still work at home. I could go and hire an office space and stuff, but I'm outside of Kalgoorlie, so in our town there isn't anywhere at the moment, and I don't want to have to travel to go to work, because
Yeah.
that's the purpose of working from home.
I know. I was thinking there's actually, the Commerce Hub, they have like
Yeah.
office rooms, but because it's not really, there's no one in there, I was like, I'm kind of going to be going from like my office that's set up to an empty space with no people. Like it's not
It's
actually
much of a
ticking any
muchness.
boxes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking that as well, of like the value of just having somewhere else to go, like get that different energy to try and,
Yeah.
you
And I
know.
think if you've got a big project on, like I
Mm.
know when I was working a couple months ago and I was doing my other role, I was working for tech and I had Golden U.
Yeah.
If I walked into my work office, then it was straight away like, right, I'm here to do this work. And I couldn't even
Yes.
think about my other roles. So
Yeah.
yeah, I work towards that. So that's what 2025 is about. We're hoping to get a workshop with a workspace and sort of create a bit more of a work-life balance. So that would be probably the biggest challenge, I reckon, when you work for yourself and in small business as well.
Yeah.
And just having to wear all the hats, like there is
Yeah.
just us. So I think that, yeah. But again, that I don't know if it is a challenge, but I don't know if it's such a negative, because we've had to learn things that we wouldn't have had to learn if we had been working for somebody else or there was someone else doing the roles that we're doing. So I do
So
love
true.
that.
Yeah, no, you're so right. I reflect on so I worked in corporate for 10 years, and I always think about like all I did was the same thing every day. Like literally, I think I had like 5 different roles over that time. And I swear to God, I did the exact same thing every day. And it was like, I remember sitting in a meeting once and I was saying like whatever my spiel was. And I was like, wow, the same words just keep
Yeah,
coming out of my mouth. Like, this is horrific. And then you switch to being a business owner and you're like, I wish I could do the
I
same
know.
thing every day, because I'm like,
I know.
going from thing to thing to thing.
You're like, I wish that I could just have the same thing to say every day with the 5 little like jobs that were expected of me. That'd be
Yeah,
great. But
totally. No,
yeah, I think
but I
I really
agree with
love.
you. I don't think it's a negative. I do agree with you that it's challenging, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and out of your comfort zone, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
So being able to learn something new is not a negative, but it would be nice to have some help sometimes, because if there's jobs that you hate, you could delegate.
Yes. Oh my God. The dream. The dream. Okay, I could talk to you all day, but let's wrap up this podcast with one
Yeah.
last piece of advice. So, reflecting on your time in business, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to another woman on her business journey?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be, don't be afraid to ask for help, because you
Mm,
can't do everything all by yourself all the time. So really know your strengths and weaknesses. And if you do have weaknesses, find somebody who is specializes in that space and learn from them. So not only ask them to help you, but ask them to teach you or show you or point you in the right direction so that you can get a better understanding. But obviously some stuff you should just definitely look for professionals, an accountant.
Yes.
Don't try to do things that are, that there's skilled people out there that are able to really help you grow your business and make sure that you're doing everything the way it should be done. So that would be my advice. I always ask for help. I always look for people around me who are more qualified, who know what, that space of business better than I do, and I ask them for help.
So good. I love it. Meg, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your time and your wisdom with the Spark community. I know everyone would have gotten a lot of value out of that.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to be able to come and talk with you.
That wraps another episode of Spark TV. Shout out to Spark TV sponsor IP Australia for their amazing support of the Spark podcast and women in business. And if no one tells you today, you've got this.